Back in January, I set off to drive the entire coast of mainland Scotland whilst living in my van. And this part of the journey brings me to one of the most dramatic stretches yet. From castles on the cliffs to stories that run deeper than the landscape itself, we finally made it to Aberdeenshire. And later, you'll learn about a truly remarkable survival story that is almost impossible to comprehend. Well, good morning folks. 4 AM alarm this morning to come to this location. As you can see, it's still dark outside. But I wanted to kick this episode off at this location in particular because it's one of the most spectacular in Scotland. And there's no better time to experience this location than at sunrise on a beautiful day. So I've got my coffee. I'm ready to go. There are places in Scotland that don't just look beautiful, they make you feel something. Places that remind you where you come from, what's been here long before us, and what will still be standing long after we're gone. And as the sun rises over Dunnottar Castle, you start to see it for what it really is. Not just a castle, but a symbol of resilience, of history, and of a country that's endured it all. For anyone with even the smallest connection to Scotland, this is the kind of place that stays with you. Standing here, watching the day begin, it reminds you that no matter how far you go, Alba will always call you home. And if you're lucky enough to visit a place like this, just slow down and take it all in. Later on, we'll head down into the castle, but for now, it's time to welcome a new day. Well, what an incredible morning. Just look at that. Absolutely sensational. Couldn't have got a better morning. I've been trying to time it with the weather sort of predictions and stuff like that, and I've been so lucky. Unbelievable. What a sight that is. And the cliffs at the side are just absolutely sensational. And you can walk all the way around these cliffs. I'm actually going to be walking over out to those ones. There's a viewpoint up there and then beyond, because there's actually a sort of sea stack across there that's been separated now from the mainland. But that is the home to the original Pictish fort in this area. And they found carvings and things like that there. Obviously I can't get onto it, it's separated now. And I believe some of the Pictish carvings are now at, what's it called now? It used to be called, is it not Bankery House? Can't remember. But they've built them into a wall there. Anyway, it's about a 15-minute walk along the cliffs, and I'm going to take you with me. Right, well, I've come to this point. I don't actually think you can get to it from up here, unless I've missed a path somewhere. So all I've got is this, and it kind of runs out at that point. I'm wondering if there's a path down here. I wonder if you go down onto the sort of beach and go around that bit of headland to get to it. I don't know. but I'm pretty sure it's down that way. Right, I'll get my drone in the air and see what I can see. The cliffs around here are just absolutely phenomenal. And there's this thing here, I don't know what that is. I'm gonna have to try and find out. I might go up to it and check it out. Anyway, let's get the drone in the air and see if I can find this place. Out on the cliffs just south of Dunnottar lies Dunnottar, a sea stack that was once part of the mainland. Today it stands isolated, but archaeological evidence suggests that as far back as around 1500 years ago, this was the site of a Pictish fort. Excavations carried out in the late 20th century uncovered a series of carved Pictish symbol stones here, some of the earliest ever found, dating back to around the 5th or 6th centuries. At that time, this would have been a fortified settlement, positioned high above the sea for defence, with access likely coming from the land before erosion gradually cut it off. Over centuries, the relentless action of the North Sea has worn away these cliffs, separating Dunnottar into the sea stack we see today. What remains is a rare glimpse into Scotland's ancient past, a site that predates the famous castle just along the coast, and a reminder of just how long people have been drawn to these dramatic cliffs. Oh, it's getting a bit warmer now, finally. But that sort of building that I saw, it's actually the Stonehaven War Memorial on Black Hill, and it was built after the First World War, 1922. Over 200 men from Stonehaven died in World War One. I've noticed you've actually got the name of some of the battles: Mons, Ypres, Jutland, and a quite fitting location for the memorial as well. I mean, just look at what's beyond. You've got the castle, the North Sea. It's just stunning. And the town, the beach, Stonehaven. It's a beautiful part of the country, this. It really is. This is a stunning walk, this cliff walk. I mean, it's difficult with the sun now that it's right out, but look at this view from this bench. Look at that. At the castle over there. It's just gorgeous. And a perfect day for it. Just in Stonehaven now. I'm going to park just along at the promenade near the outdoor swimming pool. There's plenty of parking there. So that's me arrived in Stonehaven now. Behind us that's the outdoor swimming pool here, and it's one of a kind really. It opened in 1934 and is the only 50-metre Olympic size outdoor seawater pool that's heated in the whole of the UK. It was saved from closure by a local group who now work with Aberdeenshire Council. to maintain it. It's open from the 30th of May, I think, up until sort of September. But there's inflatables, there's what do you call it? Is it aqua Zumba? And various other things as well, but it's pretty cool. I've never been, but a lovely day just to walk along this pebbly beach. Have a look at that. I'm just going to take a little stroll around Stonehaven, walk round to the harbour and pick up some food at the butcher's. It's a lovely little walk around this harbour. Stunning place. And just at the other side there, there's a business. It's like a paddle boarding business, and they've got a sauna there as well. I think it's called Driftwood. I spotted it a few days ago before coming, so I emailed them just to contact them to see if they were open and if they had any availability for tomorrow morning. So I'd love a sauna. So hopefully they come back to me. Hopefully they're open. So that would be good. But yeah, it's a lovely spot. You see them having a wee morning bath. And these are the binoculars you can use to see the Highland boundary fault line. But more about that later. It was time to check out the local butcher. Oh my god, it smells incredible in here. Oh, heather honey. Yeah, I might have to get some of that. Look at all those pies. Steak, haggis and peppercorn sauce pie.
We've had tens of thousands of guaranteed winners, including hundreds in your area, from Aberdeen to Bucky to Stonehaven and beyond. Seriously, you should just play the Scots.
Can I help you, Tom?
Hiya, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. Fillet kebab.
Can I help you? Call you, have a look.
Yeah, no, I'll be taking that. Do you do hot pies? You do.
I've got steak black and peppercorn sauce, mince and mealy, chicken and a hot buffalo sauce, chicken curry, or pork sausage.
Steak, black pudding and peppercorn, please. Give that a try. And I'm gonna take... These kebabs look unbelievable. Oh, they look so good. I'm gonna take a couple of the fillet kebab black garlic.
Two?
Yeah, I'll take 2 of them. And I'm gonna take some honey chili chicken schnitzel as well, please.
Just the one piece?
Yeah, just the one. In fact, no, 2. Yeah, we'll go for 2. Thanks. Right, it's time to try this out. Steak, black pudding and peppercorn sauce pie. Wow. That's honestly one of the best pies I've ever had in my life. Look at that filling. The steak and black pudding, that pepper sauce. Oh my god. Right, no word of a lie. That might have been the best pie I have ever had. And I've had a lot of pies in my time. That was sensational. And the food I picked up as well looks brilliant. I'm looking forward to having my dinner tonight now, that's for sure. I'll catch you later for tea. But before I get parked up and cook my dinner, it was time to get a closer look inside Dunnottar Castle. Dunnottar's story stretches back centuries, with the earliest records of a fortress here dating back as far as the 13th century. But the site itself has been occupied for much longer, with evidence of Pictish activity on this very rock over 1,000 years ago. Through the medieval period, Dunnottar became a key stronghold of the powerful Clan Keith, who held the title of Earl's Marshal, one of the highest ranking positions in Scotland, responsible for safeguarding the nation's regalia. Dunnottar was almost impossible to attack, with access limited to a single narrow path due to the cliffs. But even here, history found a way in. In 1297, during the Wars of Independence, William Wallace is said to have captured the castle by gaining entry through a small postern gate, a hidden entrance in the cliffs. Once inside, the story goes that he set fire to the chapel where English soldiers had taken refuge, and those who had tried to escape were driven back towards and over the edge of the cliffs. It's a brutal chapter in Scotland's past, but one that reflects just how fiercely this coastline and this country was fought over. Dunnottar would go on to play its part in many more moments of national importance. In the 17th century, during the Civil Wars, it was here that the honours of Scotland, the Scottish crown jewels, were hidden from Oliver Cromwell's army. They were smuggled out under siege and saved from destruction. Over time, the castle began to fall into decline. By the 18th century, it had largely been abandoned, left to the elements, with the North Sea winds and the weather slowly shaping it into the ruins we see today. But that's part of what makes Dunnottar so special for me, because when you walk through it, you're not just seeing a restored version of the past, you're stepping into something unfinished, something that lets your imagination fill in all the gaps for you. Whether it's the keep, the chapel, or the walls that once stood intact, you can picture it all. And today, thanks to the care of the same family who purchased Dunnottar in 1919, now into its 5th generation of ownership, the castle grounds continues to be protected and maintained through Dunnottar Estates. Not rebuilt, but preserved. You see, this isn't just a place you visit, it's something you experience. Hey folks, well I packed up in Dunnottar Woods for the night and picked up that beautiful steak, those steak kebabs from the butchers in Stonehaven earlier. They smell unbelievable, and I'm just going to make them, I'm not going to cook them like kebabs. What I'm going to do is chop some veg here, so I've got red and green pepper, a courgette. If you're in Australia or some other countries, you might call that zucchini. I've got some mini corn, mushrooms and tomatoes, and I'm basically going to chop up the veg, put them in my omelette oven and add the chunks of steak, just take it off the sticks, add that in as well. And I'll either toast some flatbreads and have it all in that, maybe with some sauce. Don't know if I'm that hungry for that, to be honest. I might just have it like the veg and the meat. on its own. We'll see. But cue the time lapse. Right, so this looks delicious, but I'm really not that hungry. So I have just decided to have it with the veg. You could have it with rice. I mean, you could put it on a wrap. You could do anything, but it's just basically steak and veg. And the steak, I remember it had like garlic or whatever in it. So I added some salt, pepper, garlic, bit of olive oil all over the veg to cook them as well. Let's taste the steak. Oh, wow. There's so much flavour in that marinade. The steak is beautiful. I mean, if you remember earlier, I had that pie, the steak, black pudding and peppercorn sauce, and honestly, the steak in it, it was just perfect. Like this. Spot on. What a butcher's that is, by the way. I'm looking forward to tomorrow, actually. Got loads planned. And we're starting right here in Dunnottar Woods. I'll see you in the morning. Just inland from the cliffs, Dunnottar Woods offers a completely different side to this part of the coast. A quiet stretch of woodland with winding paths, towering trees, and a sense of calm that feels a world away from the exposed coastline just beyond. Well, good morning, folks. It is a beautiful day out here today. I've had my morning coffee. I was going to do a little bit of exercise, and then I thought, you know what? I've parked up at basically Dunnottar Woods. So I'm just going to go for a little wander around the woods, see what I can find and discover whilst I'm here. It's a lovely day for it. The birds are out. So yeah, I'll get some steps in this morning instead of doing my usual exercises. I'm going to do that before I head back into Stonehaven and then make our way further up the coast towards Aberdeen. You cannot just beat sometimes the sound of nature. You've got a little stream, a burn, a river, I don't know, running down there. And oh, what's that? There's a wee building there. Now, I did look online before I came here, and there was a place called Shell House. I'm wondering if that's it. Soon find out. Yeah, this must be it. Yeah, you can see the shells. It's locked. But look. See all the shells. Look inside. Oh wow, look at that. I'll need to get my other camera through this gap. Wow. Right, let's dive right in. Built in the 18th century by Lady Kennedy for her and her 10 children, this small summer house is decorated with thousands of seashells carefully arranged to create intricate patterns across its walls and ceiling. It's a truly unique, hidden gem that feels almost out of place deep within this woodland. There's actually a little sign here telling us a little bit about the history of it here. But it reads it was probably built between 1800 and 1820. And there is another feature in this park called Lady Kennedy's Bath. I think I've seen pictures of that online. Well, how cool is that? There's so many shells inside that. It's a shame you can't go inside, but understand why at the same time, because it needs to be protected. It's really, really cool. And obviously you can get photos and stuff like that. You can still go and see it. But yeah, it's absolutely stunning. What a great start to the walk. It was literally like 2 minutes from the van. And I'm just going to follow the river upstream, well, burn or whatever you want to call it, I don't know. And I'm going to try and find that Lady Kennedy's Bath. So I think if I keep on following that, I'm going to get to it. Well, I hope so anyway. You can imagine what this place would look like in spring and summer. It's already starting to get a little bit green now, but in summer it must look absolutely amazing. Once all the leaves come back. And the birds, just a constant song from the birds. It's lovely. Right, so I was right, it is up this way, and I think I can see it just through those trees there. It's created like a little mini waterfall. Oh, I'm looking forward to seeing this now. I'm not gonna lie, that is pretty cool. Looks like a perfect place for a cold dip. Look at that. It's literally like created a little bathtub. That is pretty cool. I wonder if people still use it for a cold dip, because that is ideal. Should have brought my shorts. Yeah, it's fresh water, isn't it? The steps down to it. I definitely should have brought my shorts. So, I mean, if there's any locals watching this, let me know. Do people still come and cold dip in here? I mean, the steps are really wet, so I'm assuming that someone's been in and out. But it's a great wee spot for it, to be fair, purpose built. And apparently Lady Kennedy's children love to play in it. It was built for them, they used to bathe in it. Well, I've just absolutely loved this walk. What a great way to start my morning. Absolutely brilliant. I would have loved to have gone in the sauna after, but they didn't come back to me, unfortunately. I don't even know if they're open right now. But can't have them all, I suppose. I'm going to head back into Stonehaven now, because when I was parked there yesterday at the back of the swimming pool, there's a little place called Cowie right next to it, and it's actually really, really famous. Its shoreline in particular is very famous, and it's a bit of a hub for fossil hunters. But in 2001, amateur fossil hunter called Mike Newman actually found a fossil there and discovered, from what we know, is the oldest animal to have ever lived on land anywhere in the world. It's over 400 million years old. And if you remember from yesterday when I looked through the binoculars at the Highland boundary fault line and the land masses that were kind of sticking out there with the different rock formations, That's basically at the back of it, so I'm going to go there and just tell you a little bit more about them both. I was reading up about it last night whilst I was in bed. I found it fascinating. This stretch of coastline marks one of the most important geological boundaries in Scotland, the Highland Boundary Fault. Running from the Isle of Arran in the west to Stonehaven in the east, it separates two very different parts of the country. To the north, the Highlands, made up of much older and harder rock. To the south, the lowlands, formed from younger, softer sedimentary layers. Here at Stonehaven you can actually see that divide in the landscape, where the rocks, the cliffs and even the shape of the coastline begin to change. And it's not just the land that makes this place important. Along this shoreline at Cowie, discoveries here have helped reshape our understanding of life on Earth. It was here along the Cowie shoreline that amateur fossil hunter Mike Newman made a remarkable discovery. He found fossils dating back to around 420 million years ago. And after years of study by scientists from all around the world, one of these specimens was identified as the oldest known air-breathing land animal ever found. It was later named Pneumodesmus newmani in recognition of the man who discovered it. These early creatures represent a huge moment in Earth's history, the point where life began to move out of the oceans and onto solid ground. Finds like this are part of the reason why Scotland is considered one of the birthplaces of modern geology. In the 18th century, scientists like James Hutton studied landscapes like these, beginning to understand how the Earth was shaped over vast periods of time. Not thousands of years, millions of years. And looking out across this coastline, you're not just seeing cliffs and rock formations, you're looking at a record of millions of years of change, written into the land itself. Well, isn't that amazing? Just in this little corner of the world is home to just an amazing discovery, really. I'm parked up here in Stonehaven and honestly I have to move on. I just don't want to. There's nothing better than just sitting at this table here and looking at this view out the side door on a day like today. I mean, look at that. Absolutely fantastic. Don't want to leave. I have to. But what an absolutely beautiful day. Look at that sky. Stunning. Can't really ask for more. Oh, look at that. There's the North Sea. Lovely. There's the nuke, and I think I can park somewhere around here. Yeah. Just parking here. Happy days. As I continue north along the coast, the road brings me to Old Portlethen, a small village perched high on the cliffs. From up here, you get a real sense of how exposed this stretch of coastline is, with steep drops, rugged rock formations, and the North Sea constantly shaping what's left behind. It's quiet, a little off the beaten path, but like so many places along this coast, it's shaped by its connection to the sea. And further along the coast sits Cove Harbour, a traditional fishing community tucked down at the water's edge. Down here, life has long revolved around the harbour, boats coming and going, and the rhythm of the tide shaping everyday life. It's a place that feels grounded in its past, where its roots as a fishing community are still clear even if the harbour is quieter these days. And between places like these, you start to get a real feel for this stretch of the coastline as a whole. Small communities spread out along the cliffs and harbours, each with their own story, but all connected by the same road and the same sea. And then the landscape begins to change as Aberdeen comes into view. Known as the Granite City, Aberdeen built its reputation on industry, from fishing and shipbuilding to oil and gas in more recent decades. It's a city that's constantly evolved, balancing its past with a more modern identity. From here along the South Pier you get a sense of its scale, a working harbour, long promenade and a skyline shaped by the grey granite it's famous for. But beyond the buildings and industry there's a strong identity here too. The local dialect, well, more like a completely different language, Doric, is still spoken across the northeast, a reminder of the region's roots and culture that's been passed down through generations. It's also home to its own traditions, from the famous buttery, a staple of the northeast, to a football club that made history in the 1980s under Sir Alex Ferguson, winning the European Cup Winners' Cup. So while Aberdeen might feel like a shift from the smaller villages along the coast, it's still very much part of the same story. But as I make my way into the city, there's one story in particular that stands out, a story of survival that's almost impossible to fathom, and there's no better place to tell it than at the Gordon Highlanders Museum in Aberdeen. Now before I tell you the story, it starts here with the Gordon Highlanders. Formed in 1881, the regiment brought together earlier Highland units as part of a wider reorganisation of the British Army. Recruiting mainly from the northeast of Scotland, the Gordon Highlanders would go on to serve across the world, from the Boer War to both World Wars and beyond. Over the years they've built a reputation for resilience, discipline and courage under fire. And it's within that history that one story stands out, the story of Alistair Urquhart. A young soldier from Aberdeen who joined the Gordon Highlanders during the Second World War. In 1942 he was captured by Japanese forces during the fall of Singapore, one of the largest surrenders in British military history. What followed was almost beyond comprehension. He was forced to work on the Thai-Burma Railway, enduring brutal conditions, starvation, disease and relentless physical punishment. Thousands died building it. It was known as the Death Railway. Later he was packed onto a Japanese hell ship, crammed below deck with hundreds of other prisoners, with little air, no sanitation and barely any food or water when the ship was torpedoed by the Americans. He was thrown out to sea, burned and covered in oil, swallowing it as he fought to stay afloat. He managed to climb onto a small single-man raft and drifted for 5 days, alone, with no food and no fresh water. Eventually he was picked up not by rescuers, but by another Japanese ship, a whaling ship, and taken to Japan. He was sent to work in coal mines owned by the Aso Mining Company, before being transferred to a labour camp just 10 miles from the city of Nagasaki. And it was there in August 1945 he survived the aftermath of the atomic bomb dropped by the United States. By the time the war ended, he was one of the very few who survived all of it. The railway, the sinking, the camps in Japan, and the atomic bomb. For years after the war, he rarely spoke about what he'd been through. Like so many others, his story remained largely unheard. After the war, Alistair settled in Broughty Ferry, just outside Dundee with his wife Mary. They were married for 46 years. It wasn't until after Mary passed away in 1993 that he finally chose to tell his story, never once sharing the details of what he had endured during the war. A story he carried with him for decades, before putting it into words in his book, The Forgotten Highlander, published in 2010. And it's strange to think that while all of this was part of his past, he was living a quiet life here in the northeast, even crossing paths with my own grandparents at the local dances. In later life he survived multiple cancers, but still carried reminders of everything he'd been through, even craving rice years after the starvation he'd endured as a prisoner of war. Alistair Urquhart passed away in 2021 at the age of 101. His story lives on. It's a reminder of the resilience, endurance and strength of those who lived through it. Right folks, well that's quite an incredible story about Alistair, and it's great learning about the history of the Gordon Highlanders as well. And I'm with Fraser now, who's one of the tour guides here at the museum. They've actually got reconstructed World War I trenches here, and Fraser's going to take us around and tell us a little bit more about them.
A little bit of context to begin with. August 4th, 1914. Britain declares war on Germany and soon sends troops across the Channel to help France defend its homeland. Germany wants to end the war quickly by capturing Paris by Christmas, and they almost get there. Except they are stopped in September at the Battle of the Marne. In order to try and regain initiative, the Germans try to outflank the Allies by going to the north, only for the Allies to go even further north.
Yeah.
The two armies then spend the next month leapfrogging before they reach the north coast of France.
Yeah.
With nowhere else left to go and the flat fields of France providing very little cover, both sides are left with no choice but to dig down.
Right.
By the end of October, the First World War has come to a stalemate, and you can now, in theory, walk from the north coast of France to the Swiss border. That's a distance of about 400 miles without once putting your head up above the ground.
Wow.
And that's where we find ourselves now.
Right, okay.
Our trench is called the Moffat Trench.
Yeah.
It's named after a Dr. Margaret Moffat, who was a long-serving volunteer here at the museum, and her father was in the Gordons during the First World War. When we watch First World War films, we often see the trenches depicted as just one long line.
Yeah.
In truth, they were a large network. The first line in that network is the fire trench. Men do not live in this trench. It's reserved for combat only. Most of your men are in the control trench. This is where they would eat, sleep, write letters home.
Yeah.
Then behind that, you've got the support trench, where you'll find your medical supplies and your artillery. They're connected with communication trenches. Our trench is relatively luxurious for a trench in the First World War. Our trench is a lot wider, as well as being a lot deeper than your First World War trenches.
Yep.
Also, we've got nice wooden walls and well-drained flooring, whereas in the First World War, you just have had mud up to about there on you.
Yeah.
Mind your heed as you come in. Welcome to the officers' dugout. This is where you'd expect to find about 8 officers living and working. Real estate on the front lines being, of course, quite rare, you're going to cram everybody in that you can. Up here you can see some rations that you might have received in the First World War, such as corned beef, or mustard, boiled fowl, and some condensed milk.
Yeah.
The most popular isn't the right word, commonplace ration for British troops on the front lines, however, was the McConaughey's stew. The McConaughey's factory is up in Fraserburgh. They'd been making rations for British Army since the Second Boer War.
Brilliant.
At best, this food will have you on the toilet for the next few days. At the beginning of the First World War, a man could expect to receive 4,000 calories a day, but by the end of the war, you'd have only gotten about 400.
400 a day?
Right. For context, 400 calories is about what you'll get out of a large portion of fries from McDonald's.
Yeah, I know. It's not a lot at all.
No.
Wow.
Let's talk about the kit of a Gordon Highlander. This is the standard issue service weapon for the British Army in the First World War. Its full name is the short magazine Lee Enfield Mark III No. 1. These are replicas, but they mimic the real weight, shape and feel of the Enfield. Weighs about 4 kilos.
Yeah, is that only 4?
Yeah.
It weighs heavier. It felt heavier.
And then on top of that, you've got about 120 rounds of ammunition. The Enfield is unique for its time in that it holds 10 rounds in its internal magazine, whereas most rifles at the time only held 5. This meant that an experienced British rifleman could fire about 15 rounds per minute. We're now entering the fire trench. Beyond those sandbags is no man's land, and beyond that is the German front line. No man's land is exactly what it says on the tin. It is a land that no man controls. It's a sea of barbed wire, shell craters, burning buildings and destroyed trees. No man's land is generally speaking anywhere from 20 to 200 metres wide. In the officer's dugout you saw the rifle. Here you can see the revolver. That's the weapon of the officer. This is a funk. Funk is a slang term for fear, because fear is what you get when you use one of them. This is a bed in the First World War.
No way.
4 men would have been expected to sleep in there at once. You wouldn't have laid down in it, you'd have sat in it with your legs straight out. The reason your legs are straight out is that should this collapse, either because it's badly built or because a shell hits it, your straight legs mean that your comrades can run up to you, pull you out and save your life.
Bloody hell, 4?
Yep. You would have been allotted about 2 to 3 hours at a time to get some sleep.
Oh.
And this is Queen Vic's lavvy. Much like the rest of the trench, this is luxurious for a toilet. Oftentimes you'd have just had a hole going straight down into the ground. In the First World War, a lot of families received requests from their loved ones fighting abroad for Bibles. It wasn't that these men had found God in the trenches, it's that army issue toilet paper in 1914 is like sandpaper. And Bibles provided a lot of soft, plentiful toilet paper.
That's brilliant.
This is the medical dugout. Pop in. This is where the regimental medical officer would have looked after the medical needs of a whole battalion. Now, a battalion can be up to 1,000 men, so you think you've got one man to look after 1,000. Men were not treated in here. This is merely a triage point.
Yep.
So if you were injured in the First World War, you would come in here, the medical officer would look at you and make one of 3 decisions. If your injury wasn't that severe, he would put a bandage on you and just send you on your way. Yep. If, however, you need to get something cut off or taken out, he's going to send you back off the line where a surgeon will do the necessary procedure. If, however, your injuries are so severe that no matter what he does, you're not going to make it, he's just going to leave you. The grim reality of the First World War is that medical supplies are few and far between, and the medical officer can only afford to help those that might live to fight another day. Yeah. About 2/3 of injuries in the First World War came from artillery. Now, artillery shells weren't just filled with explosives, they were filled with shrapnel. Shrapnel can be anything. You can see there some spent ammunition, a belt buckle, shotgun shell, some ball bearings, or even the humble light bulb. The trenches weren't just physically dangerous, mentally they were a very dangerous place as well. You have to think, the men in these trenches, they're about my age, 18, 19. They're living in a glorified ditch. They're not eating well, sleeping well, drinking well. All of that puts an enormous mental pressure on the men. Very often a man might come back from the front lines, no cuts or bruises, both his legs, all fingers. But up here, he's entirely different.
Yeah.
You've had a chance to see the trench.
Mm-hmm.
This is a chance to smell it. Inside this box is an accurate recreation of what the trenches smelt like.
Okay.
Some say it smells like a Glaswegian Chinese takeaway. Some say it smells like a rugby changing room. I've also had a few people tell me that a rugby changing room smells far worse.
Right.
It's on a magnet there. Just, you know what, do you want to smell it?
Yeah, a bit nervous. Oh, that is what it smelled like. Yeah, I can understand the sort of changing room. I can smell a little bit of like boxing club. I don't know what it is. That sort of waged air, like
I've
that
had
sort of wage that age sort of wear. I don't know. It's difficult to put my finger on. Yeah, first thing that popped in my head was boxing club for some reason. I don't know, the old leather gloves sort of sweaty smell.
That box is considerably older than the trench. It's a lot weaker than it used to be. Wow. There's a special company that recreates these horrible smells. Now, as I said earlier, the trenches were a large network. This means it's incredibly easy to get lost. The solution to that is street names. The Gordons, being from Aberdeen, would use Aberdonian street names. So think Union Street, Great Western Road, or Gordon Alley.
Yep.
The reason we've used Gordon Alley, this is my sales pitch for you, up in the gift shop we sell a book called The Trench. On page 59 of that book, there is a photograph from the First World War of a Gordon Highlander next to a sign that says Gordon Alley.
Right, brilliant.
And finally, of course, a machine gun. When talking about the First World War, we often think that the deadliest weapon was gas, or tanks, or artillery, or aircraft. In truth, the First World War is the war of the machine gun. This is the British machine gun. It's called the Vickers. At 600 rounds per minute, this machine gun could do the job of up to 60 riflemen. You've seen the real one inside. This is a replica.
Yep.
At 600 rounds per minute, this barrel gets very, very hot. So here you have a container filled with water, which then pumps water through this tube into the jacket, and then it would come out the side as steam. Your men soon found that if they fired a full belt of ammunition, you'd have heated the water up enough in here to have yourself a cup of tea. It's because of weapons like these that the First World War came to a stalemate, because you only need a few of these to stop a whole army in its tracks.
Yeah.
And with that, that's the Moffat Trench.
Brilliant, thank you very much. Fraser, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Honestly, absolute pleasure. Fraser actually volunteers here, loves his history, and it was just an absolute pleasure for you to take me around, honestly. Thank you so much.
I love tour guiding, it's been a pleasure.
No, thank you again. Cheers. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Well, what an absolute joy that was. And it's great as well. It's a really nice setup they've got here, because volunteers like Fraser, they will give you a full tour as you're walking around inside. Inside, I just kind of wanted to film myself and get the shots that I wanted to get to tell the story of Alistair, my granddad's friend. But you'd need to be with a tour guide to actually get into the World War One trenches, and I couldn't possibly not do that. I couldn't leave it out. And it was just great having Fraser there, just talking us through that and talking us around the trenches. Okay, could you even imagine the conditions during the Great War in those trenches? I mean, my word, absolutely horrific. But yeah, it was great having him just talking me through it. It was really nice, and the staff were all lovely. Honestly, I highly recommend it if you're in Aberdeen. It's the first time I'd been. Always said I wanted to come here to check it out, and with this road trip already done, I'd already done the Black Watch Museum in Perth. I thought, let's do the Gordon Highlander Museum in Aberdeen whilst I'm passing through. Thank you very much, Fraser. Really appreciate it. The place we're going tonight is just actually through Balmedy. It's called the Cock and Bull. Well folks, the belly is full. I'm away to go to bed. Maybe stick the projector on for a little bit and then read a little bit of my book before I fall asleep. I really hope you've enjoyed coming with me this week, and if you have, please remember to like, leave a comment and subscribe if you haven't already done so. It is free and it will help me grow my channel. Have a great week. I'll see you next Sunday. Cheers. Like and subscribe for more van life adventures.